Good morning. My name is Senator Bennette Misalucha. I represent Senate District 16, which covers Aiea and Pearl City. I also wanted to acknowledge the presence of Council Member Brandon Elefante, and I know that Representative Sam Kong is very interested in this issue as well, and he should be here shortly. In the interest of time, we don't have time for introductions with everyone else, but I do want to acknowledge the agencies who are represented here. And I'm going to have them share who they are, starting with Scott Morishige. And Scott, if you can provide, at least from the context of the folks who may not be as familiar with what you do, just a short context or overview of what exactly your purview is. And then to be followed by, is HPD?
Yes, hi, we're here.
Excellent. Okay. For that, I'm going to turn it over to Trish LaChica, and then after that, HPD. And then we also have a representative from the Attorney General's office who's here. Is there anybody, an agency who is here that would like to at least, again, introduce themselves and provide a little context of what they do in relation to the homelessness issue? And I know Department of Transportation is supposed to be here as well. So,
Senator, they're coming on. They had a hard time finding the Zoom link, so I'm just.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So, Scott, why don't you go ahead with the introductions of your agency?
Thank you. So, aloha, good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Morishige. I'm the Governor's Coordinator on Homelessness. So I've been in this position since August 2015. I'm also a resident of the Newtown community, so I'm very familiar with a lot of the concerns and issues that you're all bringing to Senator Misalucha's attention. My role is I'm physically located in the governor's office, but part of the State Department of Human Services. And my job is to coordinate efforts within state government to address homelessness, so including with DOT, DLNR, DHS, and other departments, to advise the governor on his cabinet on policy issues related to homelessness, and to also coordinate efforts with our colleagues at the City and County of Honolulu, including Councilmember Elefante's office and Executive Director LaChica's office at the City Office of Housing. We're primarily a policy office, not a direct service office. We're also not an enforcement office, but we do receive a lot of complaints regarding encampments or issues related to homelessness. And we also work very closely with HPD and a number of the other partners in the call. So that's a brief introduction about my role. And I guess the last thing I'll say is I'm a social worker by training. So born and raised in Aiea, and I have an MSW from UH Manoa. Hey, thank you for including me this morning.
Aloha. Thank you, Scott. Trish, go ahead. Introduction of you and your office.
Great. Aloha and good morning, everyone. My name is Trish LaChica. I'm the Executive Director for the Mayor's Office of Housing here at the City and County of Honolulu. I joined the administration in January of this year, and my background is in public health and advocacy. I oversee the city's response and strategy and policies and programming around both affordable housing, the development of affordable housing, and our response to homelessness. The administration really sees homelessness as a systemic issue, compounded by just, decades of, not being able to just address the root causes of what drives homelessness, economic and both public health. And so I work similar to Scott. I'm physically located here in Honolulu, Hale. I'm a cabinet member, so play an advisory role to the mayor on a weekly basis and everything that's going on both housing and homelessness, and coordinate with all city agencies on the Department of Land Management, Department of Community Services, HPD, the city's newest program, street outreach, mobile crisis outreach program called CORE, Crisis Outreach Response and Engagement, that's run out of our EMS division. And yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell. We have a small team here in the mayor's office as well. Thank you so much
Great.
for having me.
Thank you, Trish. Okay, so Honolulu Police Department, go ahead, Sergeant Nick Makanani. Oh, Officer Makanani.
Hi, I'm Officer Makanani. I work for the District 3 Community Policing Team. We do a lot of outreach services with the service providers in our particular area. We work hand in hand with Councilmember Elefante's office and Scott Murshie with the governor's office. Our main priority and task is to provide security coverage for our sweeps, for our homeless encampments in our area. Other than that, we do a lot of outreach work for our homeless individuals, and we try and get them into our HONU program or connect them with service providers and try and offer them assistance to try and get them off of the streets and into some type of permanent housing where they can flourish and find gainful employment and be productive members of the community. So that's pretty much from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Makanani. How about people from the Department of Transportation? That's June Yang. Go ahead, June.
Good morning. My name is June Yang. I work for the Department of Transportation. How are you today? My primary role is to actually help with the management of our state properties through coordinating when encountering homeless encampments, coordinating social services while working with Scott's office very closely. And then we do have a contractor that we employ mostly full time to actually help clear and store any personal items that we come across. We do give notification and work with also our social service agencies and with law enforcement in all the different districts, but also across all the islands in the state.
Thank you, June. Can we have the representative from the Attorney General's office, please? James?
Hi, good morning. My name is James Walther. I'm a Deputy Attorney General with the Human Services Division. We provide advice and counsel to the Department of Human Services, which includes Scott's office, as well as Medicaid, Benefits Employment Support Services, the VR, and the Social Services Division. That's what we do. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, James. We also wanted to give some time to the folks who own the driving range, and that's Coach Casey. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Casey Nakama. I'm the managing partner for our group that has a lease for the driving range. Alan Wu is the property owner, but he basically leaves most of these situations up to us, and then I fill him in on what's going on. And so we just have an encampment that's up in our valley that's kind of a problem for the Newtown Association also. It's a difficult situation because we have a hard time accessing that camp to sweep it out. So that's our role here.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach Casey. Okay, so we're done with the introductions. Just wanted to manage expectations here. So this is actually a continuation of a conversation we had last week. Sorry, is there anyone else that I missed? An agency? Okay, so let's do some housekeeping rules first. If you don't mind, please muting your Zoom. So if you're not sure how to do that, on the bottom left, there's a little microphone and it has mute on it. If you can click on it, that actually is your mute button. Great, thank you. Also, this is going to be recorded live, or this is being recorded live, and hopefully we can share the link later on. So for those people or friends who would like to, hang on a second, who would like to know more about this issue, we can share the link with them. Okay, so I just wanted to provide a context of this conversation. As I mentioned, this is actually a continuation of a conversation we had last week. Kind of ran out of time, and it was apparent from the number of attendees that this is something that is very concerning to a lot of people, particularly to the residents of Newtown Estate. So we wanted to make sure that we gather all the various stakeholders together. But this is a complex issue, so just wanted to, again, manage expectations. We're not going to be able to solve all of it today. However, hopefully with the presence of our stakeholders who are involved, who are engaged in this, that we can at least gain a better understanding and hopefully find the incremental steps that would allow us to move forward on this issue. So so this is how our agenda is going to be. We have an hour and a half. Unfortunately, we can't make it any longer, so please bear with us. But during that hour and a half, what we would like to do is have the folks from NECA, from particularly the, I guess, the board, to provide us a context of what the problem is. And then after that, we can then entertain some feedback, some insights from the folks who are residents. And then later on, we're going to have the stakeholders weigh in and provide insight, I guess, responding to the concerns that you have. I know we have some pictures as well. So with that in mind, I'd like to call on the president of NECA to, I guess, provide the first salvo. As far as this issue, I know this has been plaguing the community for a long time. So let me now call on Richard Yamasaki to provide us that insight. Go ahead, Richard.
Misalucha, this is Richard. Excuse me. Senator Misalucha, we're printing out the
Oh, okay. Richard, we're sharing the screen where you have the outline.
yes, we're trying to.
Okay, go ahead. You can
Yeah.
continue. Go ahead.
Okay, it's the outline on the is the outline on the screen now.
It is.
Okay. Yeah, thank you all of you officials for participating in this meeting. And the point of some in here, these are some of the main points that the community. And one of the biggest concerns, again, is safety for not in the area, but all of the people who participate in this program. And one of the biggest concerns is, that we have here. Basically, there's no identification to who these people are. Whether they're, and we have listed down these factors. There's been very aggressive behavior in these folks, especially in the most recent case where the security guard, his job was killed. So it happened. So these are some of the main concerns. And then it's also health concerns, the trash accumulation. Crime in the neighborhood break-in, auto thefts, especially in the area of catalytic converters now. You know, we cannot blame everything on the homeless, but certainly looking at what's in their correlation. You know, all of these items that we have listed down have some bearing on the problem that we have and the associated problems would go with. One other thing that was mentioned was that there seems to be a frustration level on the part of the community. It's as though there's disparity between the law. The law says that you cannot throw litter all over the street and things like that. However, and you know, as you pointed out, it's $250 fine for littering. However, there's no law get away with, and they're right back on the street again with no penalty. So these are some of the issues that you know, really concern us. And I thank you again for hosting this Zoom meeting. You know, I don't know if but it's just thank you.
Richard, coming in and out. So the last couple of sentences, if you can please repeat. Would you kindly repeat, Richard, the last two sentences that you had? Because you were coming in and out. It was garbled.
Yeah, we have, and we're having, I had problems with mine at home and I came here, so we're cutting in and out of this.
Yeah. So maybe that's the next issue that we have to handle, the broadband. Okay, but moving on. Thank you very much, Richard. And perhaps that document, which really summarizes very succinctly the issues about this and other related matters, can be circulated to the folks who are in the room, and particularly the residents of NECA. But I know Richard has designated a liaison, and that's Howard Ishizuka. Howard, would you like to say a few words to share again about the issue? And then after that, I'm going to open it up to any resident who would like to express their viewpoints.
Yeah, please, real quickly. Again, thank you, Senator, for arranging this and bringing all the folks together. And thank you to all the folks attending, giving their time. So I wanted to talk specifically about each encampment. Again, you know, Ellie Masduki, the general manager, and her staff, as well as some of the board members, have been working together proactively on these encampments. And we've identified, according to my account, 4 main ones, and then additional 4 small ones. But the one I wanted to kind of focus on was what Mr. Nakama talked about, the one between the driving range and the Newtown Rec Center. And maybe perhaps figure out amongst everyone a way ahead, and then maybe use that as maybe like a cookie cutter that can be modified for the other encampments. So, but as far as the driving range one, if I can give you a little quick background, and then explain what has been done to date so far, and then folks can then chime in and give ideas how we can move forward. Like I said, so little background. Because of the wooded area between the driving range and the rec center, it's ideal for homeless to go in there. So they've gone in there before, years ago, And then the way they were, I guess, the encampment was removed again, was I guess somebody made mention to the general manager at the time, Deb Jang, and then about people going into that area off of Kahele Street. So she got the services of HPD to escort her and I don't know, maybe other folks to go in, and they found the encampment. Okay, so, and then she worked with, I believe, the local city and county maintenance district office. And either by working that, or again, Representative Kong had touched on the last Zoom about he worked with I guess a group or department in the city and county that handled the encampments. So whatever happened, one weekend as I was driving by, I saw the big city and county yellow garbage truck with HPD officers there, and I presume it was the work of city and county workers that went in and removed the encampment. And I think we didn't hear anything after that. So I believe that's what happened. I wasn't involved specifically, so I don't know the exact details, but that's what I understand happened. So, and one just side note, Deb Jang was able to attend Aiea neighborhood board meeting, which she got approval, and which they eventually did install gates on the comfort station, as I mentioned, by the rec center. So that's there, but it's never been locked but the capability was there, so it left open. So fast forward to now where we are. Again, mention was made by, again, the community is very vigilant. I think it was brought up to, now Deb Jang has moved on, and now Bennette Misalucha is the general manager, that, there might be homeless encampment that came back. So again, Ellie followed the same cookie cutter where she got the services of HPD, and then they went in, and then they identified this huge encampment. I don't know if it's in the same location where the other one was, but I don't know, Ellie, if you can share those pictures now, or if you are able to. But to continue, so because it's on the driving range property and it's so massive, that's where we are right now. So I understand, again, Ellie and other members from NECA had met with the driving range representatives to discuss. I wasn't in on those meetings, so I don't know what was discussed. And I understand Councilman Elefante and his folks also met with Mr. Nakama and his folks and had some discussion. So these pictures, I hope everybody can see them, are some of the pictures that Ellie was able to take. And there's like solar powered panels down there, but I hope she can show that one picture, I guess one of the encampment folks, but there's this one picture that shows, like, yeah, as she goes through a lot of stuff there. In fact, from what I understand, there's also a water hole. Yeah, it's pretty impressive, these pictures. I think this is all, I believe, the encampment that is within the driving range, between the driving range and the Newtown. And so again, and one last thing too, Larry Verre had touched on the point that this area is, if a fire is started either maliciously or accidentally, it could possibly move up towards the rec center and preschool, or even the driving range facility. So and then I might add that it happened before. There was a fire in this area that fortunately got put out in time, where before it reached the rec center and the preschool. So there is that danger present, yeah, with this area. So again, I'm glad Ellie took this picture, which to me really drives home the massiveness to me of this area. So again, this is, I think, where we're at, where how can folks help to remove this encampment? Again, Mr. Nakama mentioned it's in a kind of a difficult area to get to, but I don't know. I guess something has to be done to get it removed. So I don't know if, since it sits on the driving range property, I don't know if, again, this is a picture of the water holes that they're tapping water from somewhere, which it wasn't found where the source is. And so again, going back to responsibility, does it fall on the shoulders of the Newtown driving range to get rid of it solely, or is there something that someone else can be of help to do? And then, so similarly, tangent, Ellie has pictures for the smaller encampment that's across the street from the driving range at the corner of Illinois and Kahele. And that one was a little smaller, so it was the Newtown staff and volunteers that went in and cleaned it. But again, with Officer Makanani's recommendation that the trees be cut, which haven't been yet, to be determined, to make it more visible to prevent folks coming back. So, but again, I just wanted to, just take a few minutes to show the serious one, the driving range one, or the one between the driving range and the rec center, and then maybe figure out a solution, a way ahead, how it can be removed. And yeah.
Howard, I think Ellie's
Thank
trying
you.
to share the other encampment. The
Okay.
other encampment.
Yeah. If so, again, so that encampment, not to detract from the driving range one, that one again, I believe has been cleared by the NECA staff and volunteers, but they noticed folks have started to come back again. And then it was mentioned at the last Zoom too, which it didn't cross my mind at that time, that it's kind of worrisome about the safety of accessing the area in the future. Maybe the homeless will then try to booby trap it or be more aggressive and stuff. And then, and like I mentioned the last Zoom, the NECA staff has experienced some of the aggressiveness from the homeless folks. And I believe in particular at night, like at 8 p.m. at night, when they're locking up the gates, they've been approached by individuals too. So there's that concern. So, and then okay, since we're talking about the other encampments, the other two, one off of Komomai Drive, again, that's another one. The NECA staff proactively went in and cleared up and have been monitoring it. And from what I understand, they haven't heard of folks returning. And the last one was a smaller one too, the one that was just a few yards from the preschool. And that one, again, the staff and volunteers went in and cleaned it up. And so those, I guess, Newtown has been able to address. Maybe there was some other, okay, this is the one across the street, right, Ellie? Gotta be.
Howard, there's also a question from Scott Marushige about where the Komomai one is located.
Sorry, I have to defer to Ellie because I don't know the specifics of that, but and it's been inhabited before. And again, we can get you the coordinates of that, Scott.
Is it in the green belt, or is it on like the more like the side where the church and stuff is on Komomai? I'm just trying to get a better sense generally where it is.
Yeah, I apologize. I know it comes up in conversation before. This is that there's some kind of like a drainage ditch or something, a culvert. I don't know if that helps, but yeah.
How recent are these pictures, Ellie?
I don't know if Ellie, can you hear us? I would have to guess.
Sorry,
maybe
again?
with Ellie. What are these pictures of, and how recent are they?
I can't really hear you guys again. Can you repeat again?
What are these pictures of, and how recent are they?
Oh, yes. This picture was when we already did second time the cleanup, and then hold on one second. This is on April 26th, yeah.
And I just want to confirm, this
And
is
then this is the cleanup, right across the
this is the area across the street from the driving range, right? Off of Kahele in
Alphabet
Illinois.
land. No, this is the alphabet land, the one just right across our area.
Oh, okay. So these are the pictures, Senator, of the encampment that was between that parking lot that's off of the driveway to Newtown and the alphabet land. We used to always see cars parked in that corner of the parking lot, and I believe they then removed the fence and even the fence bar to access this area. And so now what Newtown has done, if they lock the gate to the parking lot, which they used to open for a short period during the day. So now no cars can park in there, as well as, you know, this encampment was a smaller one, I believe, was removed. But the concern was, since it was so close to the preschool, that was a concern. And so now, because the parking lot is locked all the time, which helps to deter folks parking in there, I guess that kind of created some aggressiveness from the homeless folks towards the staff, I believe. Yeah. And then, so one note too, I was driving down Kahele early this morning, and then I noticed there was like a Sienna van and a Corolla car parked on Kahele right in front of the comfort station. And I believe every so often, I don't know if it's daily, I'll see it parked there. So I assume it's not like they're parked just to use the comfort station. I believe they're parked to access some encampment. So again, before the, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Howard.
Yeah, thank you.
You wanted to say something?
No.
Scott Morishige, you raised.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Senator. I had some thoughts just on possible steps that we could take to be a little
Okay.
bit proactive about some of this. So I don't know if you're ready to go into that.
No, not yet. Yeah. So hold on to your thought. I'd like to provide some time for the members of the community to weigh in, to share their insights. And then after that, we're going to go into a discussion from the stakeholders. But I know you have substantive, at least thoughts on how we can remedy the situation. So any member of the community who would like to share your viewpoint on this, please feel free. You can unmute yourself.
It's on. I need to press on.
Go ahead.
This is Casey Nakama again from the driving range.
Go ahead, Coach.
All we were looking for is help from the city or the state to have an access road. It doesn't have to be a really nice road. It could be a dirt road that just can have access into that area. And then we can clean it out by hiring HTM and those kind of companies that cleans it out. But we cannot get into that area. It's a trail, it's a walking trail. And I think from the backside, from the Newtown Association side, we can get a road that gets into that area. It just needs to be near enough to that area that we can get the HTM people to come in and clean it up. But the access is our situational problem right now.
Okay.
Into that area. So that's all we're looking just for some help for the road. Yes, that's all.
So let's park that on the side right now, and then let's hear from the other members. Thank you, Coach. From the other members of the community who would like to share. I did have something from Jerry Matsuda, but I'm going to provide some input first from, or have people provide input on what they think is this issue, or their viewpoints on this issue. Anyone?
I'm Shizuko Hanaomi.
Yes, go ahead.
Is it okay if I said something?
Of course.
I was thinking that, and thank you, Senator, for having this discussion. I'm thinking that, we have this problem in our community, and it's affecting many stakeholders, like the preschool. Even I'm thinking, even I'm sure the Mormon Tabernacle, the members of that temple, all the members of our community who walk and make the time to exercise and walk on the sidewalks. And they've been approached, I think, and it's kind of scary for them to walk and do their exercise if people are hanging around. And we've been asked, I've been asked to give money. Somebody approached me and someone told me never to give them any money because they might grab your bag when you search for money in your bag. And it's this fear. And then we can't use the rec center at night, maybe. I know we close at 7:30, which is good, but then, it's impacting us in many different ways. And I really feel that, I don't see, I mean, I think it'll take time to have that road that they want, you know. I wish that we could, you know, be a little bit more proactive and find other solutions that could like help us feel safer right now. You know, there's the fire problem, there's that preschool, you know, the whole staff, you know, staff, children, parents, and our parking lot too at night. I heard that they come up and into our parking lot and they've been taking things from our rec center, like the hose possibly and the spigots, and they cut the wire through. Maybe I'm not sure if it's them, but you know, they found like holes in the fence. Maybe someone said they were even using the swimming pool to take a bath in, you know. So those kinds of things to me are concerns that we should, you know, address too. So got to do something and try to, you know, we have compassion for them, but they also have to understand that they're creating problems for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, going once.
Okay, this is Shafir Sunai.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, I contacted Scott's office and to report the person that's living on the top of that embankment, the Moanalo, that by the stream, and also on Kaahele and Moanaloa. They're under the bridge there also. Now, after contacting Scott's office, I guess they approached them and a citation was, they approached them offering them homeless shelters and they refused or they declined. A citation was issued and I'm told that it was passed to the mayor's office for them to coordinate the police and removal of their personal property. Now that was done on April 27th, called back on May 5th, called back today, and just to report that nothing is done. Now, for the people that are under the bridge, I've noticed while passing on Kaahele, people that are in plain clothes, they don't look like they're homeless. There were 2 male and 1 female that went under the bridge. Now, I suspect drugs are being dealt with there, you know, and it's too close to home. So my concern is the citation and everything was issued. What's the timeline for the police and someone removing all of the, you know, personal belongings and getting them out of that area? You mentioned June Yang is in charge of clearing and storing these items. What's the timeline for them to take action? It's been over a month since I've reported. I've gone through the steps. Citation was already issued. Now we're at the last step, removal.
Okay. You know what? We do have somebody from the Attorney General's office here who could respond to that question. And June is also here. So why don't we start with James? Could you provide us some parameters? What's the demarcation line? How, because I know there are civil liberties that folks have and there are boundaries that we cannot cross, but within reason, within our right as well to protect our neighborhood, what can we do? James, go ahead.
Well, I don't think I have an answer for that particular question in terms of timeline. I think that's more of a practical problem that June or Scott can talk to. I think it's a matter of resources and what does the city and county have available to take action. There are a number of actions around the state, around Oahu particularly, and I think with the limited resources they have to prioritize them. So it's not a legal issue about the timing. It's a practical problem.
But we have drugs, I believe, that are involved. Does this raise the priority?
Well, and yes, I'm sure it does. And that's a law enforcement issue that the police also have to prioritize. So it may not, you may be right that that's not necessarily a homeless issue, but that's a law enforcement problem.
So James, could you kind of speak to the fact that people have said we cannot force them to go to a shelter?
That's right. So any action that the state or the county takes has to be in line with current case law and constitutional rights of individuals. So we can offer services, we can't require them. There are limited times when the state can take action against somebody's will, which includes involuntary commitment or involuntary medication. But that requires a high level of proof of the mental or physical incapacity of that person in order to take action involuntarily against someone.
Does it matter whether they're being removed from a private property versus a state one versus a city?
Well, so that's a good question, and of course it is, that's right. Howard asked about that. What is the responsibility, right, of the driving range? So it's the responsibility of the property owner to manage and maintain their property, whether that's the city, the state, or a private entity. And those that are on a private property, you have actually a little bit more ability because there's trespassing laws that you can enforce, but you have to go through steps to do that, right? There has to be notice and an opportunity to move people out when you're talking about trespassing. So for that kind of action, I think the Newtown Association would have to consult with their own attorneys about what kind of signage and notice they need to give to the people in order to have them removed under
Now,
trespassing. Yeah.
the person that's on the edge of the stream, I believe he removed his belongings and he was incarcerated. And now he's back and all of the junk or his belongings are on the edge again. Now he's returning to an area that he already was removed. Now, shouldn't the process be quicker? Because this is not a first offense.
Can I, Senator, if I may jump in to that concern? This is Brandon Elefante. Hi, everyone. And thank you to Coach Nakama for being here. Officer Makanani has been involved with that, so maybe we can speak to that. I believe that gentleman's name is Dwayne that lives off of Kaha Street. So Officer Makanani, if you wanted to address that question.
Okay, so the homeless individual that's currently residing in the canal, his name is Dwayne Javinar.
Yeah, below by the golf course.
We've been dealing with Dwayne for a long time, basically. We've gotten multiple complaints regarding his items inside of the canal. Basically, what's happening is that property that's currently vacant, that vacant parcel of land, his family used to own that lot. When the family member passed away, it got transferred to another family member, his auntie. His auntie knocked down the house with hopes of rebuilding the property. What happened is Dwayne took his things, auntie kicked him off the property. Dwayne took his things and put it on the canal side. The new private property owner, his auntie, built a fence in the back of the residence or the back of the property. But what happens is they didn't butt the fence all the way up to the city property. They left about 1.5 feet of space between their private property and the city property, which they own. So what's happening is when we get there, Dwayne takes all of his items, which is in the canal, and puts it on the private property side where we can't touch it. So a couple of times we found Dwayne inside of the canal. We've gave him warnings to leave. We issued him citations. We've actually also arrested him previously for being in the canal for trespassing. What happened is maybe not even 3 hours later, after we arrested Dwayne and transported him to town, not even 3 hours later, we're on regular patrol driving by and we seen Dwayne walking back to the canal area. So it's kind of frustrating on HPD's part, is that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, but these people are basically just no repercussions. They're just getting out and going right back to the same place. So it's a little hard to navigate these types of situations. Of course, we've offered Dwayne outreach services. We try to get him connected to the service providers, outreach providers, things like that. But Dwayne is just one of those hardcore individuals that does not want to accept any shelter or services. So even if we do give him citations, arrest him, he'll be right back. So we have to find some kind of solution for that, because if he gets out, he just came back, and it just proved we arrested him 3 hours later, he's back in the canal again. So there's a disconnect between the law enforcement side and the judicial side of actually holding these individuals responsible for their actions.
Okay, so officer, have we talked to his family as well? I mean, what has?
Yes, on multiple occasions. I've spoken with his auntie who owns the property, his cousins. Dwayne informed me that he wants to go back to Kauai. His parents moved up to Kauai. He wants to get back up into Kauai, but the reason why it's keeping him here in Oahu is that he has a younger daughter. She's like 14 or 15 years old. So he informed me that once she graduates, and he probably wants to go to Kauai to live with his parents.
Okay, we can offline let's have a conversation about that gap that you were talking about, but from a long-term perspective, providing some policy changes. So we can have an offline conversation. But does anybody have any other, there was made about the role of the Department of Transportation in cutting grass and making sure that there's visibility, because I guess the tall grasses provide some shelter for them as well.
So this is Jun Yang with Department of Transportation. I appreciate the concern for the area. For that reason, we've come out to the area. Actually, we come to the area at least once a week. We come to the area once a week looking for any kinds of signs of encampments. We pick up rubbish wherever our property is. And there used to be some encampments behind Toel, the water warehouse in that area along the shoulder, which we cleared out, it must be about 3 or 4 years ago. And ever since then, we've been coming by the Dave's Ice Cream area behind the Pizza Hut, constantly monitoring the area and asking our landscaping side of DOT to cut down and cut back the trees to make sure that we have a clear visibility in the area. The other part of it is we do come into the area and clear out the areas behind the fence and underneath the freeways. And we do this at least once a week. I have not recently seen anybody living in any of our right-of-ways. And with every report that we receive, I still come back to the area personally and with our contractors to look for encampments, individuals, belongings in our right-of-way, which we still failed to find. We've checked underneath in the canal area and underneath the freeway, but which we'll continue to do at least on a weekly basis. So within the DOT right-of-way, we've continued to try to maintain and ensure that there's no encampments or anything that starts to begin. A little bit of some of the vegetation, some of the greens in the area underneath the freeway, I realized that we're having a little bit of a hard time seeing through the fence nearest the golf range. So I had our contractors cut back some of that grass and some vegetation so that everybody will be able to see in clearly. What that does is it kind of it deters individuals from establishing camps or storing things because people are able to see freely. And so we've been doing that in different locations around the area. But we're here. I've received every one of the requests from Scott's office. So he does send it over to our office right away. The day that he receives it, I do usually receive it. And we usually have a weekly cleanup of the area. So we were just there yesterday, or actually actually yesterday, yes. So we were in the area yesterday, and we plan to be there again next week. As I say, every week. If there is anything that does come up within the DOT right of way, which is under the freeway, along the shoulders of the highway, we will come out there if you do report anything to Scott or to the DOT offices. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator, this is Howard. If I can
Okay,
quickly
Howard. Yeah, go ahead.
inject. I just wanted to give kudos to Mr. Yang and his staff, because I've seen that crew doing the cleanup where I was behind the the HTM junket truck, and followed by I think a safety a truck that provides the the detour signs and stuff. I've seen them go up Kahele real quickly by the driving range, make a U-turn, and come underneath the freeway to do some cleaning. So I think they've tried continue to maintain underneath the freeway, which I think someone had in the past put up a fence underneath the freeway because there was maybe some encampment underneath the freeway. And I appreciate all your efforts. So I've seen that in action. And then just one note, the one that Shafir had mentioned about the well-dressed folks going underneath the underneath the bridge. This is across the street from Duane's encampment. And this morning when I passed it, I just happened to see clothes hung on the railings. There's like a bridge that goes over that canal parallel to the Monolo Road. So I'm not sure when your crew goes in and they have to clean, is it they first check if it's state property, and if it's not, then it's hands off, or I don't know. So anyway, thank you for all that you do.
I appreciate that. Yes, so our contract is funded through the state. And so therefore are responsible, but also what we're able to do, because as James had mentioned from the AG's office, it is the responsibility of the property owner to maintain their property. I have no jurisdictional rights over city and county roads, but I do have rights as Department of Transportation over anything that the state Department of Transportation owns. And so if it's on private property or if it's a county property, those are things that I'm unable to do, no matter if I want to or not. It's not a matter of want, it's a matter of legality and ownership.
June, can I add to that really briefly? I think just to clarify what happens when we get complaints that are on city property. So my office is aware generally of what the jurisdictions are. So if it is a city jurisdiction, so all of Moanalua Road is city and county, and as well as the canal and some of the other areas mentioned. So when we get those inquiries, we've been directed by the managing director at the city and county to send those inquiries to Executive Director Lachika's office and City Office of Housing, and then she will do sort of what we do on the state side, kind of send it to the appropriate city departments. The counterpart for June is generally Department of Facility Maintenance at the city and county, and they have a process called SPO, SNO, and then we will also send those concerns to Officer Makanani when it's either city and county property or private property.
Okay, so Scott, for the remaining time, let's put attention on what we can do and what's in the realm of possibilities. We have half an hour to figure it out, what the steps are. I know you had said that you already to think about possible remedies and solutions. Share that with us. But I also want to circle back to Coach Casey, the access road.
So I can't speak to the access road because I'm just trying to approach it from social services coordination and then what we can do with what we know currently. So I did speak to briefly to Officer Makanani this morning, as well as Executive Director Lachika yesterday. And one of the suggestions I had is I think so that we can ensure that more regular outreach is done in this area. The state does contract an outreach provider, Achieve Zero, but they're responsible for a very broad geographic area. So for more targeted enforcements, we tend to work with the city and county's outreach team called Teamwork Hawaii. That's from the Department of Community Services. I did speak to their supervisor, Leah Burton, this morning, and she is willing to go out with Officer Makanani probably sometime within the next 1 to 2 weeks or so to really do kind of an assessment of the people in the encampments. Specifically, I'm talking about the ones by the driving range and the Newtown, the NECA property, both the smaller encampment on Kahele and Kilinoi, and then the other encampment, as well as the one I think that's on the city and county property by the entrance to the rec center. So my thought is that we would work with Teamwork Hawaii and Officer Makanani to see if they can do that, kind of get a sense of who is there now, kind of what, get some updated pictures. The pictures that Ellie has are helpful. And I think if we can kind of create a space where we're able to kind of store that type of documentation about the encampments in the area, that would be helpful. The other thing I spoke to Officer Makanani, just to kind of pick his brain about, is in other areas where there's businesses that are running into these types of issues, HPD through their community policing team can do something called a business security watch. It's similar to a neighborhood security watch, but it basically links up the businesses in an area. And the main intent is just to have almost like a telephone tree, so the businesses are better able to kind of communicate with each other. You're able to get a sense of, you know, what the impacts are in different businesses in the area. And it's more like a information tool and kind of a support system for the businesses. And I think it helps, it will help to, again, get a better sense of the encampments from the business perspective and help to better connect the businesses in the area. So those were two immediate thoughts that I had. And yeah, I wanted to see if, you know, Officer Makanani, if you or Executive Director Lachika have anything that you want to add to that, or additional things that you think may be helpful. I think Executive Director Lachika had mentioned that the city's core team may also possibly be able to respond to this area.
This is Shafir Sunada again. You know, it appears this June Yang has a real good handle on cleaning up and taking care of items. Would it be possible to have Trish Lachika work with June? If she's going to be contracting services for the cleanup, why not direct it to June and have him take care of issues that is out of his area? Would that be doable? Two agencies working together to solve the problem rather than recreating the wheel?
Hi, this is Trish, and I have to hop off. So I have a mandatory training I have to attend, but I think there are opportunities for the city and the state to collaborate. With the new administration, you know, Mayor Rick Blangiardi's administration, you know, our, you know, when you say removal and displacement, that's not the first approach. You know, I think the enforcement action is kind of something that is done when all efforts to get them housed and into services fail. So what Scott's suggesting is what we want to be able to prioritize, understand what the scope of the problem is and get them connected to services first. If there are issues, which the team will assess sometime this week along with Officer Makanani on public right-of-way, public safety, anything that's you know, endangering the community and the general public, then we can certainly prioritize with the Department of Facilities and Maintenance. But it wouldn't be within June's jurisdiction to engage in city property. So we will, you know, coordinate together through Scott's office, all the different, you know, departments on what, you know, after we do a full assessment, how we can be able to do either, you know, assist continued saturation of the area, activation, plans for community activation, and enforcement.
So
In
Trish, I have
this
a question.
situation,
Go ahead.
we've gone through all the steps. The citation was already issued. They were offered to relocate, and they denied all of that. So we've gone through all the steps. We're at the final step of asking them to remove their stuff and clear the area. Now, June on his side, he's doing a good job, and we appreciate that. And we know that it's going to put additional work on him if you were to collaborate with him in order to clear up issues that are not in his jurisdiction. June, sorry to put all the work on you, but I mean, you're doing a great job. And if they collaborate with you, it'd be great.
Absolutely. So I do work we do communicate with the department of the HPD. Officer Makanani is, whenever there's an issue, he does give a call to my office while he's in conversation with Scott's office. So, hey, June, there's something going on. I spoke with Scott. This is the situation. Of course, we're out there and we will work in our schedule to prioritize areas to come in. So, there's 5 days in a work week, and in that time, we're going to be out there. And if we need to move things around, we'll do that. And that happens within all of our different areas around the island. If there's something that pops up, we can move things around. Like last week, we were in Diamond Head working, and the city had the lower slopes and we had the upper slopes for DLNR. That was a priority for last week. That meant that we did have to push things off of other areas, but it didn't mean that we stopped clearing and maintaining our properties. For this area, we are here once a week at least. And if there's something that we see or we hear from the city, we'll be out there together and want to make sure that we work on it in concert. Thank you.
I think June and Trish, I just wanted to be mindful because I know, is it Sheffer? Sheffer, is that your? Shafir.
Yeah.
Is asking about timing, the timeline, because I think there's a lot of frustration. We have about 60 people on the call, and I'm sure if they have a choice, they would rather be elsewhere. But the fact that they're here is really a testament to the interest in getting things done. So is there a timeline that we can at least allude to as far as clearing the area, Scott, or getting rid of the encampments? Perhaps that is the ultimate goal, right? And how do we ensure that they don't come back? How do we ensure that the environment is such that it's not as inviting to be in this neighborhood? What can we do?
Thank you, Senator. So I think some of it is some of the suggestions people had mentioned earlier, right? So, for example, I live right by that smaller encampment across from the Newtown driving range that Howard was speaking to. And I do think Officer Makanani's suggestion to cut down the vegetation and the trees in that area would discourage people from returning. And so we need to look at a variety of different things, right? It's sort of how do you address the environmental concerns that are causing people to be more likely to camp in a specific area? So that's one suggestion. The other thing is having regular outreach or more activity in the area. So I think my suggestion with Teamwork Hawaii going out, I think that presence when more people start coming to an encampment, sometimes that also is helps to either incentivize people to make a connection with the provider, or it may incentivize them to move to another area because they don't want to be bothered, right? And so I think it's looking at strategies like that. I think on, when there is criminal activity occurring, I think having that constant feedback loop with HPD and Officer Makanani, which I think we have already. I think the challenge is, as he explained, with the individual by the canal, you cannot just rely on the citation or the arrest, right? Because a lot of times these crimes, and they are crimes that we observe, they're more petty misdemeanor crimes. So the consequence is relatively minor, and the person may be just back out on the street even if they're arrested the same day. So I think the longer term solution is, trying to figure out how we activate some of these areas, how we address some of the environmental concerns, and then ultimately try to get people, if nothing else works, really continue to move forward on the services front to get people off the street. I know none of this, there's not a black and white easy answer, right? So I think it takes looking at a variety of different things. The reason why I mention again, sort of like the business security watch option, is a key part of this is everybody has to be in regular communication, right? And I applaud you, Senator, for kind of bringing us all together, because I think that's a big part of the process is because we're dealing with city jurisdiction, state jurisdiction, private, we cannot solve it unless we're all the different parties are in regular communication with each other. But I also don't want to be the only one kind of speaking. So I do think if there's others, either from the government agencies or from the community that have suggestions, I'm very interested in hearing, what the thoughts from the community are too, on how we can better work to address it. Some of it, we may be bound by jurisdictional or legal things, but it helps to hear, what the suggestions and thoughts are.
So, Senator, can I inject real quick?
Yes,
Just
please,
what
go
I'm
ahead.
keeping notes. So what I heard so far is June is doing a great job taking care of anything related on state property. And so I think what we need is June Yang on the city and county side to take care of anything on city and county property. And from what I understand, so far, I believe of all the encampments, the only encampment that was cleared by the NECA staff is near the preschool. So other than that, the one on the corner of Illinois and Kahele on the Diamond Head side, that's on Newtown property. So it looks like it falls on Newtown on their nickel to cut down the trees. That's what I heard so far. Okay, and the last thing is for the driving range. From what I understand, what I heard from Mr. Nakama is the driving range folks are willing on their nickel to clean up the encampment. But they're asking if city and county can build a road on, I believe, city and county land that is adjacent to the driving range land, where the truck, the contract can come in and do the cleaning. So that's what, I mean, to me, in my simple mind, that's what I think we're at so far after all the conversation. So again, as Scott mentioned, the jurisdiction part, who owns the property that the encampments are on, and then if anybody else thinks otherwise, I'm open to it. Like, for example, does the city or state have some funds where, or they have a contractor that's willing to come on Newtown property on the corner, Illinois and Kahele, to cut down the trees?
Right.
If not, I guess it falls on Newtown's shoulders, on their nickel to cut it down. So anyway, sorry.
So
Thank you for.
can I have Coach Casey back? I just wanted to get a sense as far as what you're willing to do, and we appreciate the fact that you're offering to clear that area on your dime. And I know you said access road. What are your thoughts? What exactly are you thinking is something that needs, because obviously it needs to be sooner than later, but as we all know, often in government doesn't work that fast. But it is private property. Are we able to, I mean, how are we talking about just clearing debris? Or are we talking about building a road? Would you be able to provide some insights, some clarity on that, Coach Casey?
What that they're talking about is a big community. They get 2 solar panels.
I'm assuming Coach might have dropped off. I don't see him or hear him.
Is he gone, Coach Casey? Oh, okay. And I know that, is April still in the room? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please go ahead. Go ahead.
So I was going to follow up with that too and see if we know who owns the land that Coach was talking about, because he said it was backed up to the rec center, I think. So it might still be private property against private property, but that would be helpful to know if it's a city and county right of way or something that they could use. But that also brought me to Scott's point, which is, bringing all these people together is really good. We represent the state agencies, but the city and county has attorneys that also need to be involved, both the corporate counsel and the prosecutors, because the prosecutors are the ones who are working with the officer to prosecute when somebody gets arrested for trespass or whatever. So there are people that could also be brought into this that should be and would be helpful, I think.
Okay. So thank you, James. That's a very good point. So I think Howard did a good job in summarizing.
Sorry, Senator. I think April might still be on. Maybe she can provide her input.
Yeah.
I believe she was in meetings with Coach Casey, I believe. I see April still there, but muted.
April, are you able to share a little bit about what their plans are?
Hi, this is April. I don't know what their plans are. I just invited them to come to this meeting.
Okay.
They are the lessee. They are not the landowner, but yes, they are the lessee of the property. I'm looking at a TMK map right now, and if you're talking about the corner of the Newtown Estates Community Association Rec Center, that land's not owned by the city. That land is actually part of the driving range. The city does own the neighborhood park, you know, and the comfort station and all that, but that land's actually owned either by NECA or the golf course.
Yeah.
So they're asking for government resources to build access to through private property. I honestly
That's
don't
not
think
probably
we can do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you could access through the park, but I don't know exactly where this encampment is and if that helps, because to get to it, you still have to cross through private property.
Correct, correct. Okay, so perhaps that's a to-do on our
Yeah.
to-do list.
Yeah.
Okay, so folks.
Sorry, Senator, one thing
Go
real
ahead.
quick. I just assumed that Coach Casey was looking to the city and county to build that access road because the property was on city and county, but I could be wrong. And like you said, that might be a to-do to check with Coach Casey. What land is he talking about that he needs the access road? But
Okay.
I think the run promising, what I heard was they're willing on their dime to clean up the area. They just don't have any access to it. And that's what they need help with, it seems. And if there's no city and county property to access that area, then, well, then we gotta figure that out. Yeah, so if.
Okay, go ahead.
Scott, I have a quick question because Coach Nakama is a new owner of the driving range, right? It was owned by Okada Trucking prior. And my understanding is Okada Trucking had worked with HPD in the past to address the encampment that was on the Newtown driving range property. So I don't know if Officer Makanani or anyone else has information about how Okada Trucking accessed the encampment when it was on the driving range property before, because I think that's a good question, because I know they did enforcements there in the past.
Yeah. So to that, Scott, I don't know the history because this goes way back. The encampment might have been in a different area too, but all I know is whatever's and all new players came into the picture. There's a new general manager. Again, there's a new owner of the driving range, and from what I heard from Coach Casey, he's just the lessee. The owner is Mr. Wu, he mentioned.
Right.
But so this is all new to them too. But so it might. But today, all I know is the encampment sits on their property, which he's willing to clean. The help is needed. How to get to that area?
Officer Makanani, if you're still on, is the encampment that's on the driving range property now, do you know if it's in a different location than where it was prior when it was on the driving range property? That's what I'm trying to get a better handle on, if you know.
Yes, so the original location that we helped assist with Okada Trucking in the past, that camp was situated in a different area than the encampment, where the current encampment is right now. I think they had a little bit easier time accessing the previous encampment. I think it was accessible by foot, and I believe they were able to get some vehicles kind of near the area to help assist with that cleanup.
Do you know how homeless individuals are accessing the encampment on the driving range property? Because I think prior you had mentioned that they might be accessing it from the driving range property, right? From where the driving range is.
Yes, so to my knowledge, it seems like they're entering on the side hill where the netting is up, the driving range netting is up. They're entering from the bougainvillea bush side by the guardrail. It's easier to enter from that particular area. That's how it seems to me they're entering. Yes, along Ka'ahele.
So I don't know if it might also be possible to look at ways that we can kind of better secure or block off some of the entrance, the ways that people are entering into the valley. Because I know that there are a couple trails by the guardrails that people enter the different encampments from. And I haven't gone out to look at it in a couple of years, but I'm wondering if there may be a way to block off some of the entrances. And then I talked to someone who lives in Hillside Terrace, and they were mentioning they think there may be an interest point from there too, but I'm not sure. That didn't seem as accessible to me, but I don't know if anybody else actually thinks that there is an access point from the Hillside Terrace side.
Sorry, Senator, this is Aiea from the city. May I show my map so I can understand exactly where you folks are talking about, so I can
Please do.
let my, okay, thank you very much,
Definitely,
appreciate it.
yes.
Okay, so I don't think, yeah, I can't see what you guys see, but you see a map, right? Newtown
We
Estates.
do.
Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of point with my arrow, and you folks let me know, and I'll let DFM know. So this is the driving range. Are you folks saying that they're currently on this side of the property?
Hey, Aiea, are you okay with me sharing my screen? Because I can show the TMKs like by the jurisdiction line. Or are you you're looking at the
No,
same
I already am. Yeah,
okay.
I have all the so this is
Okay.
Newtown Estates Golf Course owns this. We the city own this piece, and Newtown Estates owns that piece.
Okay.
But are they back up here in this area that is owned by the driving range?
I think Officer Makanani would be best to answer that, I believe.
Yeah.
Officer Makanani.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh,
Can you
yeah,
identify on the map that's being shown where that large encampment is? Officer.
Oh,
this is the driving range, yeah.
Yeah, so if you look at the end of the driving range, it's more off to the right-hand side. I want to say our
right here,
maybe a little bit lower,
or lower,
left, up, a little bit more to the right, right about there.
Okay, perfect. And so this is where the driving range is going to be responsible for this part, but coach is asking for access to get there.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so from what I can tell, sorry, I can't move this thing sometimes, but I do believe, let's try this. Oh, no, of course it doesn't want to move. I think that this whole area is is owned by the golf course.
If you zoom in, yeah.
Oh yeah, there we go, a little bit better. So this side is us.
So
city and county.
I guess my question is the entry to the encampment on the driving range property through the city property that Ailena's highlighting there? Like I can't remember where the guardrail, where the trail starts from, but I'm wondering if it goes through the city property.
Yeah. Scott, I think best would be answered if you have the time where Ellie and Officer Makanani can take you on a tour.
I can go there.
I want to go. No,
I can go there if you want. I mean, later today even.
So I need to
just
volunteer.
kinda,
yeah.
Just
I want to go
because
and that's that makes sense of Officer Makanani is saying, because as folks have been mentioning, folks from Kahele Street will go into the bushes and go down. And I don't know why the cars are parked further up the street by the comfort station and where they're going to, but yeah. And then I'm sorry we couldn't have this map when Coach Casey was around, and he might have been able to point out exactly what
where
he
the
had in mind
access
as far as
road,
the
right?
access. Yeah.
Okay, we'll have a separate meeting on that, Howard, because I think in the interest of time,
yes,
have like some next steps that.
So real quick, Senator, can I just express our appreciation to Officer Makanani? I didn't know he was. I never met him, but it sounds like he was involved way back, even with Deb Jang, and so he has corporate knowledge. Thank you to him and his officers for providing the security for Deb and Ellie and her staff while they visiting the area. Like, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So thank you, Officer Makanani.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Hello, Senator. This is Jerry Matsuda.
Oh, hi.
I'm late. But I just want to add I think everyone is doing a great job looking after their responsibilities. I just want to add to the access to the encampment area. I did notice some man-made paths up to the Bougainville, up that big slope, the Bougainville and go down. But I would think majority of the access is on city and county property. right on the ocean side of the bathroom facilities. Now, if you go over there and take a look, the fence ends, and then there's a large, wide, 5 feet wide area that there's a man-made path. And the path is so well used that it's dirt already. And we also, my wife and I saw a what you call, moped with a person on it driving down the slope. So my point is, I believe from my perspective, it is city and county responsibility. There are some blue signs already up there on the fence, and they're taking the right action to state no trespassing by city ordinance, etc. You'll be arrested or something to that nature. You have to give forewarning with the signs. I haven't taken a picture of the signs, but I think after this, I'm going to take a drive down there and take a picture. But the bathroom facility, the first action, in my opinion, is that the bathroom facility should be controlled usage. Is it open 24 hours a day now? Anybody know that? I don't know.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Gary, it is.
Howard, then that has to be corrected. There is no need to keep it 24 hours open. And you can ask the community. And majority of the usage is in the afternoon by sports people who coach youth activities. There is a dog activity group, and that's all daytime. So my point is, try to reconstruct it to secure it during the non-use period, and you post a sign up there. I don't think people would complain. I think that's one of the key things that should be done first. You got to cut out the needs of these people. It's sad to say that. That's not being brutal now, but that is a common sense thing. What are these people? Why do they like that area? Well, it's private. It's a way nobody can see them, and they have access now to water, and they have access to the bathroom facilities, and that's all they need. And they're not being arrested. How many times were they arrested? We don't know. But if they're not continually arrested, there are different stages of trespassing. But if you look it up in the state law, state of Hawaii trespassing, you got criminal trespassing, and I guess they call it regular trespassing. But you guys gotta use what you have. Sorry. You gotta use the laws you have. You gotta use the laws that you have first and take care of it. Because, you know, these people are human beings. By nature, you only go visit them, they're gonna stay there forever. So let's look at it from that perspective. I know the police, they get tired of arresting people for trespassing, but I think that should be continued.
Thank you, Jerry.
That's my opinion. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming. I didn't get your email, by the way, so that's why I couldn't share what your perspectives were. Okay.
So, Senator, real quick, sorry, I keep interfering.
No worries.
If a site tour is scheduled, maybe step back and maybe schedule it formally where, you know, to make sure maybe Mr. Coach Nakama is there so he can point out where he thinks a road should be built, and somebody bringing along a map showing the jurisdiction, and then maybe whoever else, maybe Officer Makanani, who can provide history and security for the visit. So I'm just saying, maybe give some thought on how to plan the visit instead of, I know it's good Scott wants to do it today. He's welcome to it if he wants to visit with Ellie, but I think maybe with you there, maybe have something more planned so that you give everybody's time. So sorry, thank you.
No,
No worries.
I agree with doing a more planned thing, but I would want to come out today if Ellie is available, just so I can kind of see where the entrance is, because I kind of know where the trails start. But
thank you. Yeah, that would be great.
April,
sorry, last but not least from me, I'm so sorry. Is there anyone that's reached out to parks? Because I just found out they are the jurisdiction that does own that piece or manages it. Did anyone get a contact from them?
Let me refer to April, because April has been working on this issue for a while. April.
Yeah, so sorry, I mean to interrupt again. Not to speak for Ellie, but from what I understand, she was contacting the city and county, I don't know if they're parks, but some maintenance office that Deb Jang used to. And then I think the gentleman supervisor was on vacation and was going to come back in May or something. But then I just learned today, Ellie informed me that because of redistricting she was referred to another district office, which she hasn't had time to contact. So Ellie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what it stands as far as contacting Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Yeah, this is April from Councilmember Elefante's
Yeah, you're right.
office.
Michelle is in here.
Oh, sorry. Who was that?
We were
We
were
have to mute.
following up.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, April. I inadvertently muted you.
Okay, yeah, so last week, our action item for our office was to contact the Parks Department. You folks may remember that Nika did go, Deb had gone to the neighborhood board, and we actually did get gates installed on the bathroom. And in March, they were gonna start locking it up, March of 2020, and as all of you know, then we shut down. And so what happened is prior to March 2020, the city had hired security company and all of the parks that had gates that were locked. And as long as it was posted, right? Because by law, we have to post that the park is closed. All of those parks were then locked up by a private security company. And then at 5 or 6 in the morning when the parks opened, all of those parks around the island were opened up. And so that's what the community association had requested, right? Unfortunately, when the gates were installed, then it never happened because they just completely locked up all of the parks. When the parks reopened, it was a different administration. And I don't think that they actually hired that security company again. So last week, as a follow-up to our meeting, we contacted the person you were speaking about, Howard. His name was Zach. And they redistricted. Yeah. And so now I emailed a woman named Carrie Leong. She is now the district manager for the area that the park is in. So we had our meeting on Thursday and we emailed Zach and he emailed us back Friday and we then had the request sent to Carrie. I have not heard back from Carrie. I sent her the letter from the Aiea neighborhood board and Nika requesting that it be locked back in, early 2020. And also some old emails from, previous directors and previous district managers, which aren't there anymore. So that is still on our action item. Our last communication was Friday. We have not heard back, but it's supposed to be locked because it is posted that park is closed. So that's my long explanation.
Thank you.
Thanks, April.
Appreciate it. Okay. All right. So again, it's 10:30. I just want to summarize and at least provide some high points on what is discussed and what the next steps are. And then after that, I don't think we need another forum like this because from here on, I think we need a smaller group of people to work on this issue. And then perhaps maybe in a month, we'll come back and provide a report to everyone. So I'll work with Howard as far as who he believes would be part of this task force, obviously with the help of Council Member Elefante and Representative Pong, who are your electeds here. But let me provide some summary. So there are two things that Scott Marishiga said that is important to set the baseline of understanding. He said, work with Teamwork Hawaii to go out with Officer Makanani to do an assessment of the encampments, work with HPD to look at a business watch type of approach. Also, we're going to be hopefully with April's help and Councilmember Elefante's help, have a separate meeting with the owners or the lessor of the golf course to provide an understanding what they want as far as access and if there are any resources. Obviously, we're kind of navigating on iffy territory because it is a private land and we can't devote government resources towards that effort, but perhaps there are other ways that we can support him. Also, I think the securing the entrances to that park is important, and not to the park, but to the encampment, and seeing whether we can either cut off the entrance or at least secure and manage the entrances so it'll be more difficult for them to access that area. The other thing is the bathroom. So April, if you can continue to dogtail that so that we can have maybe a report. I think that's something that can be done easily and shortly. So that's all. And then, of course, we are going to organize a site visit. But in the meantime, though, James, very quickly, is it okay for them to actually, like, I'm a little worried that the Newtown folks are going into the encampment and they may be in harm's way. So is that okay for them to do that legally?
Well, they have the right to. It's
Okay.
probably not a great idea.
Okay.
I would take security and be very careful, but yeah, they're kind of there at their own risk. If it's private property, like anybody who's invited onto that property, the association is going to be liable if something happens.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the great thing about this is that we have the state, we have the city, and all the other pertinent agencies working together, folks. We're a team, along with the board members and the board of NECA. So hopefully we can come to a solution. It's not going to be overnight, so please be patient. But we are going to try our best to come up with some long-term solutions and short-term solutions as well, so that even if the encampment is swept, they're not going anywhere else. Okay, so our goal is to clean up, but maybe one at a time, because I think the priority right now is the one by the golf course. I know there are other encampments in the district, but if we can focus our attention on that, hopefully resolve that, and then maybe take lessons learned and apply it to the other encampments. Is that
real quickly, Senator? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just one thing. So you talked about a smaller task force. So I might add that NECA has an email blast system to get information out to the community. That's why the invites for this and the past Zooms were done via that. So, you know, I know you did minutes for the first Zoom, but any type of information, be it or the task force, can be disseminated via that system. So
definitely.
Anyway.
And we'll also, because we recorded this, we can upload it into YouTube and then have them, if they want to view the entire meeting as well. But you and I can share about who should be in that task force, okay?
Yes, yes.
And then after that, as a follow-up, like I said, in a month, we will have another forum like this to show what has been done.
Yep.
Is that okay? Any other questions? Because again, I'm very mindful of people's time. Thank you so much, everyone, for your attendance and for staying engaged. Aloha and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, Senator.
Hi, sorry, as we're exiting, I just sent you a message about the safety of the residents around. Would you happen to know if there are reported incidents of any kind of harassment of the residents or to the residents?
Can I, because the meeting is done, Felicia, do you mind calling my office and I'll answer you offline?
Yeah, no, most definitely. Thank you for your
Okay,
time.
586-6230.
Okay, thanks. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Aloha. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.